Terrifying today. When Steamboat whooshed, scientists searched for answers. Steamboat is the world's tallest active geyser, but unlike Old Faithful, its eruptions are anything but predictable. Now, a new analysis suggests that at least one of Steamboat's recent eruptions was triggered by a small earthquake. The magnitude 3.9 quake struck in September 2022, and its epicenter was about 7 miles from Steamboat, which is in the Norris Geyser Basin in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. Someone ran over there right after the earthquake to see if Steamboat was doing anything, and right after the earthquake, everything seemed normal, recalls Mara Reed, a graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley. But about 8 hours later, whoosh. Steamboat had one of its largest eruptions ever, one that can shoot water hundreds of feet into the air. Reed and some colleagues wondered if the two events were related, and conducted an analysis just published in the journal Volcanica. "We think it makes sense. I would venture to say that's probably what happened," Reed said. The report comes days after Steamboat experienced another eruption that followed an earthquake, this time a magnitude 4.1 with an epicenter about 100 miles away from the geyser. "I think that's very interesting. And I think it's very possible that a geyser that's about to erupt could be pushed over the edge by seismic shaking," said Michael Pulland of the U.S. Geological Survey, who heads the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. "But it's very, very hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt," he said, "because there's always the possibility that it's just a fluke. The world has only about 1,000 geysers, and about half of them are in Yellowstone. Besides being interesting in their own right, they're a good analogy for volcanoes. About 1/10 of the world's population lives within the hazard range of a volcano, so researchers want to understand what might trigger them. We've known for a long time that earthquakes trigger volcanic eruptions, but understanding when and why they happen has been an open question," said Michael Monga of the University of California, Berkeley. "Geysers provide another opportunity to study how pressure affects fluids," he said, "because the underlying physics are similar. In the geyser world, Steamboat is like a rock star. It erupts really big, and it can also mysteriously disappear for years. When it wakes up and becomes active, it can erupt every few days. Or it can erupt weeks to months apart. Steamboat is special. Right now, Steamboat is the king," Pulland said. "There are eruptions that can be 400 feet high, and maybe part of the mystery is that it's unpredictable." Scientists have installed several seismometers near Steamboat, and these instruments can pick up tiny vibrations in the ground caused by hot, boiling water. "Imagine if you saw a pot of water boiling on the stove. It's that powerful," Pulland said. After the 2022 earthquake, one instrument near Steamboat recorded a change in the intensity of this hydrothermal noise, Reed said. "That means the earthquake may have changed the flow of fluids underground and sent more hot water towards Steamboat. So we know that the hydrothermal system at that point near the seismometer has changed," he said. "That doesn't necessarily prove that the system has changed in a way that affects Steamboat, but it makes sense that it has, based on what we know about the geology, the area and the types of seismic signals we see." The research team also did a statistical analysis that showed that it was highly unlikely that Steamboat erupted on that day just by chance. Pulland said that for about 2 months before the big eruption, Steamboat seemed poised to explode. It had experienced several small eruptions that sent water plumes only 10 feet or so above its vents. The same thing happened this month on October 7th, when a magnitude 4.1 earthquake struck near Dillon, Montana, about 100 miles from Steamboat. A few hours later, Steamboat had a major eruption. It's possible that in both cases, Steamboat was on the verge of erupting and the earthquake just gave it a nudge, Pullen said. If so, in both cases, why was there a few hours delay between the earthquake and the eruption? He asked. Steamboat has experienced several large regional earthquakes without erupting. For example, it did not erupt after the 7.3 magnitude Hebgen Lake earthquake that affected many of Yellowstone's other geysers.